Hello, I'm Eric Hemming at the Åland University of Applied Sciences in Finland. I have a picture of a group here. It is a group of musicians, and it is many years ago they used to play together. It is a very male group, as you can see. No women seem to be part of it. And typically for male groups, there is a strong leader and there is hierarchy. You can perhaps guess who is the leader here, and you can maybe guess who is at the bottom of the food chain, who they might be laughing at or making funny jokes about. So that's something which goes for male groups. Maybe women have a similar setup, but we as men, we know less about that than about the male groups. As men and women often grow up in separation from each other, you can see that on a schoolyard, that the boys are usually playing with other boys and the girls are playing with other girls, etc. And in the spare time too, they tend to have a best friend of the same sex. So this fosters, of course, differences between men and women. And in this picture here, we can see one of the consequences of this type of lack of communication between the two groups. And that is, of course, a lack of understanding of the other kinds' characteristics. And when you look at this picture, you can ask maybe yourself, do you think it's a man or a woman who has designed this picture? And the other question that comes to my mind is this derogatory of men, or is it derogatory of women? Is it bad to be complicated, or is it bad to be too simple? I think we don't have the full picture of this. We have to think more about that. Now, the sad things about groups is that they really have a tendency to not integrate very easily. Integration is something which happens under favorable circumstances, but if you're competing for advantages, as we do in our societies, groups tend to exclude one another. And what is worse is that groups put down other groups. And as we saw here, men and women have this problem. If you see statistics of wages and who is in management positions, etc., there is a bit of female underrepresentation. And this picture here shows how women then can be said to be othered, that is, to be excluded, as seen as other than the norm, which is then to be a man. Other distinguishing features can be then whether you're have a white or a colored skin, if you're an immigrant or not, if you're heterosexual or homosexual, if you're good looking or ugly, if you're handicapped or not, if you're highly educated or not, if you're rich or not, if you're popular or not, and if you're happy or unhappy. All these things can be a problem, and the people on the right here, those who can actually be said to be in that category, they normally have to be twice as good. They have to work twice as hard to achieve the goods in society. This is a well-known fact today. So this is probably something natural. It is something which can be worked on, but it will always be a difficult thing to deal with. Men have a tendency to be drawn to weapons and violence. And this picture here is a very peaceful one, really. It is from a maritime academy in the Philippines. And here the students are taught to march with weapons wielded like this. So masculinity is something which is somewhat linked to violence. We have to admit that. And to be in a male group, it involves having a lot of respect for the leader sometimes. Not always, but in some male groups that's the way it is. And there's a bit of fear, actually. And in the next picture we can see what can happen when a male group is working together on a ship. This is the Bright Shield, which has actually tried to check in on the Holiday Inn in New Orleans in the harbor. And this was due to the fact that people on lower rank on the bridge, they did not want to tell their superiors bad news. It was bad news concerning the engine, that it didn't really work the way it should. It didn't have access to full power. So the pilot didn't know this when he gave orders about full revolutions astern. So then the ship actually collided with the harbor buildings. And of course hierarchies then have this downside. But on the other hand, maybe in emergency situations, it's maybe a good thing to have a hierarchy. This is complicated things, and there will be more information about this in the next video.